I'm here with Josh Gottry, the composer of Quintic, which is the winner of the 2020 Left Edge Percussion Composition Competition. Congratulations, Josh.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the premiere of Quintic was originally supposed to be this coming Thursday, May 28th, here at Southern Oregon University, the Oregon Center for the Arts. And because of COVID-19, obviously that performance is not happening as scheduled, but we are hoping to broadcast the video premiere of the piece in its stead on the same date, and then have Josh out next October for the live premiere of the piece. Hopefully things will be enough back to normal that we can do that next October, and we're looking forward to that, Josh.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Me too. And I mean, I am impressed with your students all the more that they were able to pull this together from their own houses and working out all of the logistics to do a video premiere through virtual recording. I commend you and your students for managing to pull that off, and I'm looking forward to meet them in person in October.
Well, thank you. Yeah, they're amazing. They've been doing incredible work all year. 5 graduate students, first and second years, master students in our Master of Music program here. And yeah, they, really were excited about the opportunity to go ahead with the project and learn the piece from home and record themselves performing their own parts. And thank you to you for the outstanding MIDI version of the piece and click track that really helped us put this together a little bit easier than if we hadn't had that available. And it just happened to work out that I've had some students take some instruments home to work on various projects over this term, and so they picked their parts basically based on what instruments they had. So one of them, or actually a couple of them, have marimbas at home, and a couple of them has vibraphones at home and drums and etc. So actually worked out pretty well. The one little piece of it that was a little trickier were the bells, the desk bells.
Of course.
But we, they just, because they overlap, a couple of them share pitches. So
Right.
they, one person recorded and then met me at school and brought him back, and I met another guy, he picked his up, so it all worked out fine. But yeah, it's coming together. I'm in the midst of the audio editing right now, which is, I think, the biggest step. And then the video editing will come next, which I'll also be doing. And even though that one's a little less familiar to me, I haven't done as much video editing as audio editing. I'm hoping that since everything's set to the click, that won't be too difficult to put together, whereas the audio editing, we're taking a little more, time to really mix and pan and get a good sound everywhere, and hopefully come up with a really great product, given the situation we're in.
Yeah, and the better the students do, the easier your job in the process of mixing it all together, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And
we've all gotten very good at creating virtual ensembles, more so than we ever expected might be possible in the spring months here.
Yeah, have you been doing some of that there with your students?
I did. I had 5 students out of my percussion ensemble at the community college agree to create a couple virtual percussion quartets, just so that we had something to say, here's what would have been, something we could have performed on our concert. Logistically, because of the students I have and what equipment they have, we really couldn't do anything with the music that we had originally slated to play. But I really wanted to give both the students an opportunity to do something and the college something to, kind of say, look, this is what our students continue to do. This is how, just kind of the mentality and the attitude of our students to say, okay, so here's the new context. What can we do with that to make the most of it? So yeah, we did a couple just very small, kind of on the easier side quartets, just to tackle something as an ensemble and give that outlet for those who are willing to find a way to make it work.
Cool. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Quintic and the piece, your inspiration to write it, your process. I'm interested in all those things.
Sure. The inspiration, the initial inspiration had everything to do with the desk bells. I played a quartet that required me to purchase a set of decibels with my CGC ensemble a little over a year ago. And so I had them, and I'm like, well, I have this set of decibels. I might as well try and write a piece to make use of them again. And originally I was thinking I would write a piece for one of my ensembles to play. And I had sketched out last summer or maybe early fall, had sketched out a couple notes as far as ideas as to how that instrument could be used in a piece. And I was kind of gravitating toward this idea of essentially an additional pitched instrument that was shared among the ensemble. So it gave me a different melodic voice, but that wasn't centrally located in one player. So it's like taking a orchestra bells or something and dividing each bar among the ensemble, and all of a sudden we had another instrument without one person having to focus on it. So that was kind of my idea. Let me see if I can take these decibels and make them a shared instrument among the ensemble. And then I felt like I wanted to surround that in a context that was much more rhythmic and groove oriented. I think of the bells as that resonant tone, and so I wanted something kind of more groovy and drummy underneath that. And so the instrumentation, as far as the percussion sounds, got one person playing metal instruments, so hi-hat, break drum, triangle, and then a snare drum player with using the rim and the drum and some different sounds there, and then one person playing two bongos, two congas, and so you get kind of the more earthy drummy sound. And so I felt like that made a good rhythm section of the ensemble to kind of create some driving sounds underneath the resonant decibels, and then the two pitched instruments, traditional keyboard instruments, marimba and vibraphone. I thought that worked really well in this context to kind of be a nice package with which to sprinkle those decibels around. So that's what it started with, and then with the 5 players, I wanted to see how could I exploit the number 5 as much as possible. I've recently had a number of pieces that had some sort of numeric or math element to them. My daughter claims that that's her influence on me. She is currently she's just finished her freshman year in college as an applied math major with a computer science minor. So she's got that number brain, and so she's has claimed in several of these pieces that she's rubbing off on me, and so I'm getting excited about numbers, and I keep reminding her, no, I've always had this excitement. Maybe your excitement over math and passion for that is a result of my influence. So there's a little bit of a family debate going on. But I wrote a piece called Basic Geometry that had to do with a couple numeric principles. I recently did a commission called Prime Numbers that uses actually 3 players on each side of a 5-octave marimba, and throughout the piece a whole bunch of references to different prime numbers. So Quintic was my attempt to really explore the number 5. So there's some quintal harmony in there, obviously the 5 players, 5/4 time signature, 5/8 time signature, and then managed with a little creativity as I got down to the end of the piece and was putting the final touches, that the piece, the last note sounds, if played perfectly at tempo, so with the click track or the video premiere, this should work out nicely, that last note sounds exactly at 5 minutes and 55 seconds. So yeah, so just let's see how much I can play with that number 5.
Cool. Yeah, well, the piece certainly grabbed us from the start in its both in its, I think, structure appealed to us, as well as the sound of the piece when we first heard the MIDI recording. And numbers have always been a big part of my background. Have studied North Indian classical music quite a bit and come from a jazz drumming background, and so that numerology has always been a big piece of what I'm interested in musically. And then, what I also liked about the piece is that, it clearly feels like it's in 5 a lot of the time, and that part of the piece is very clear. But sometimes those kinds of pieces can get a little bit gimmicky or a little bit it's too much in front. The idea
Right.
becomes what the piece is only about, and it lacks a little soul or substance otherwise. And
Right.
Your piece, really caught our ear as well. It's grooviness and the cool melody and everything too. So I really appreciate the fact that you had all that structure in place, but it's also a great piece to listen to.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad to hear that. There's inevitably, well, at least for me, I'll speak for myself as a composer. There's always something that gets me started in a piece, and a lot of it tends to be very formulaic. I have an idea, a structure, a certain motive that I really want to develop, that gets started, and quite frankly, that's usually what gets jotted in my notebook. These little nuggets that I want to develop, or these notes to myself, as some general form concepts that I want to exploit. But ultimately, as I craft the piece, my goal is to make sure that if you didn't know any of that backstory, if you didn't know any of the thought process as to how I exactly wanted to craft this piece, it would still sound interesting. It would still be engaging for the listener. It would be fun to play for the performer. I don't want to ever get to the point that I sacrifice the quality and interest of the piece for the sake of the idea that I'm trying to execute. Because ultimately we're turning these dots and lines into something that people want to listen to, hopefully. And I don't want to get bogged down in the minutia and lose just the enjoyment of a good piece of music. So I'm glad that came through in the process of you guys listening to it.
Yeah, great. Well, you succeeded. Well done. And our process in our competition, this is the first time we've run this competition, and we were pretty excited at the responses. We had 83 entries from 18 countries across
Wow.
5 continents. We were just blown away by the response. So this is just a good chance for me to publicly say thank you to everyone out there who submitted something. We were just so impressed with all of the music we got to check out. And, when we got down to our kind of final selections, it was actually quite difficult because we had a lot of really good music. But I think ultimately, your piece kind of stood out for a lot of the reasons we're talking about today. So congratulations again, and thanks for the great music. We're really excited to premiere it, to perform it, and to keep performing it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I am very much looking forward to both the virtual premiere and then hanging out with you guys for a few days in October.
Yeah, we are too. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Josh, for taking the time to talk with me, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
My pleasure. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks. Bye.